Hi, YouTube. Voice is cracking on the first thing I say. So I'm here today for another installment of Molly ranting about things that nobody wants to hear about and is probably controversial and will get a whole bunch of really mean, nasty comments. But I'm going to do it anyways because I've been compiling a list of just things that I'm very highly opinionated about that anger me when I see them in the community, and I have a fairly sizable list of things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to finally try to start putting some of them out there. So yesterday talked about coffee. Really wasn't as opinionated as this one might be, but that being said, today I want to talk about how many times a day on Facebook, YouTube, other various social media of the weight loss surgery community, how many times do you see, why didn't anybody ever tell me X? This can be anything from, why didn't anybody tell me that I was going to lose hair? Why didn't anybody tell me I wasn't going to be able to eat this? Why didn't anybody tell me that I was going to have to change my mentality and this isn't just a fix of everything and all of the happy wonderfulness? And why didn't anybody tell me that I wasn't going to look like a Barbie after this? And oh yeah, there's going to be loose skin if you were morbidly obese. And the list goes on and on and on. And there are definitely some of them that it's like, okay, those are a little bit more obscure, or maybe they don't apply to a lot of people. But when I see really big, very common, these are the basics of weight loss surgery you should know, it brings me back to educating yourself before surgery. And I don't think that this is something that you should go into as a first resort for weight loss, or a second resort, or a third resort. This is kind of like, I've tried all of the diets, I've tried all of the plans, and nothing works for me. Even if that just means that you can't stick to them because they're too restrictive and you're too hungry or whatever it is, I don't think of surgery as a first option thing. So it's not, and even if you do, either way, having weight loss surgery and permanently altering your body for the rest of its existence on this earth isn't something to be taken lightly. And if you're asking questions after surgery about why didn't anybody tell me this? I really think people need to start doing more research beforehand. I was trying to think back in my maybe first 6 months, or even just from now, a year and a half-ish, of things that I was like, well, why didn't I know about this? And I honestly don't think that there was anything that caught me off guard. I knew that I was going to lose hair, or that it was a very good likelihood. I knew that I was going to have to take vitamins for the rest of my life, which, by the way, when that one's one that really gets me. It's like, when can I stop taking my vitamins? Things you should know. Maybe if your labs are fine and you can wean yourself off of them and get in all of the nutrients, but when can I drink soda again? You should probably know that carbonation is a no-no after surgery. Or at least it is in 99% of surgeons' views. So I think this is really more of a rant about educating yourself before surgery than it is about any of those particular questions. I honestly don't think that I've been surprised by anything post-surgery, because I did my research and I spent hours and hours and hours, day after day, reading about, everything that each of the surgeries entailed, and in order to make that educated, informed decision about what surgery I was having, as well as all of the things that would happen after that surgery and how my life was going to change forever. So I guess my point is to educate yourself, because I think when you don't educate yourself and you run into these problems post-surgery when there's a whole lot of things going on, when you're changing weight rapidly and there's a lot of hormonal changes and everything else is going on, adding on not knowing about some of these things you could easily know about before surgery if you just sit down and do the research about the life-changing decision you're about to make, it's going to reduce that stress. It's not going to, I've seen people like freak out, like need to be institutionalized kind of people after surgery. And it's because, and I'm not even exaggerating on that, there have been a couple, not everybody, but I have seen one or two that I would, it's like, you need to be controlled. Where it's just like, you need to educate yourself, you need to know what to expect so that when it happens, it's not a shock. And that can be applied to almost any of these things where it's like, why didn't anybody tell me X? And that's the other thing, is that just the wording of that question, I almost always see that question worded like, why didn't anybody tell me? This is about being an advocate for yourself. You're being an advocate for your own health here, making this decision. The way it's worded, and I know it's probably just bad wording, but the fact that that's how it mentally processes in your brain to write that out, it shouldn't be, why didn't anybody tell me this? It should be, why didn't I do enough research before surgery to have known that this was going to happen or that this was a possibility? I don't like the blaming, not that it's like people actually blaming certain people, but just the way that is always worded just gets me, because it's not anybody else's problem. You are making this life-changing decision and you need to do the research to be educated before you go into it. And it's going to reduce the stress and it's going to make the process easier after. If you know how you're eating, what you're going to be eating, in what amounts, and on what time schedule, adjusting yourself to that time schedule, and just knowing how your life's going to change and making those adjustments beforehand is really going to help. But then knowing about the things like, hair loss and loose skin and all of those other things, when they happen, you shouldn't be surprised about them, and they're not going to be such a shock and such a derailer. So that was quite a rant, and I actually got that in 8 minutes. So I know that there's definitely going to be backlash to this, but in all honesty, I think it's just being an advocate for yourself and being fully informed, and it's going to help you in the long run. So if you're pre-op, I encourage you to go read as much as you can. Go, if you don't have a Facebook, get on Facebook. Don't necessarily join the groups, but if you watch YouTube videos, maybe friend those people and talk to people. Groups are definitely not the nicest way to learn information. That's putting that lightly. So, talk to people, read forums, read, all of the different hospitals' websites. Yes, you're using one hospital, but utilize the information that's put out there by all of the facilities. There's a wealth of information out there. I don't think that there's one thing I've experienced post-op that I haven't seen online, and that being said, that I didn't see before going into surgery. So, a lot of people have made comments about how I seemed to do really well in the beginning, and I was, right on track with everything, and I knew what was going on, I knew what to expect, and yes, I believe that I was well prepared, and I believe that it is everybody's responsibility to go into this well prepared, or else freakouts happen and stupid questions. And yes, there is such a thing as a stupid question. Maybe if you're pre-op, it's not stupid, but if you're post-op, sometimes it's just like, yeah, you probably should have known about that a few months ago. So, anyways, that's my highly opinionated video for the day, and I encourage you to do some research, and if you're post-op, you're still learning. I do research about this every day. I'm still learning to this day. Things change, nutrition changes, and even surgeon suggestions, and just, this is a dynamic, lifelong process, and it's never, learning in general about anything is always a dynamic, lifelong process, and this is no different. So yes, I'm saying do all of your, do a ton of research beforehand. You're making a life-changing decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Yes, do tons of it, and don't be surprised about those big things that come post-weight loss surgery, or else it's going to shock you. But at the same time, don't just have surgery and think, well, I'm done now. I did my research. I know how this happens, and be done. Like, I'm a year and a half out, and I still am learning things every day. So do your research beforehand, continue doing your research afterhand, and you'll do fabulous. So that's it for today. I'm going to stop ranting and go back to homework and stop procrastinating by ranting on Facebook or YouTube. Anyways, have a great day, guys.